Hi internet people, it has been a busy couple of days for me. So I have watched Riverdale, I am prepared, I'm filming this way later than normal, and I watched it a lot earlier than in the day than normal, so I'm hoping that I can actually like recap this for you pretty decently. So in this episode, there's a lot of political stuff happening. So Hermione, we know, is already running for mayor, but after telling Veronica she needs to like keep her head in the sand, they need her to keep being like very quiet, not really like out doing anything major, Veronica winds up deciding to run for student body president. This happens after this huge discussion about the prison. Jughead announces he's going on a hunger strike because he doesn't want them to tear down Southside, and there's, hunger strike for Jughead, which is so intense because they're all like, are you really gonna be able to do that? Like, you eat all the time? But Jughead is going on a hunger strike, and Veronica, before deciding to be president, is just like sitting. Ethel comes up to her and is holding a Pop's milkshake and says that this is her punishment for like all she's done, and totally throws an entire strawberry milkshake on Veronica. Now this is on top of like us knowing that some really shady stuff is going on with the lodges. Ethel doesn't like her at all. It has to do with Ethel's family. It makes complete sense, but she totally throws a milkshake all over Veronica. So Veronica is covered in pink milkshake. When she's cleaning off, she and Betty wind up talking, and she and Betty are like saying some stuff to each other, and then that conversation goes okay. There's going to be more Betty-Veronica drama that occurs because Veronica winds up punching Reggie in the face for insulting her parents, then goes home. Her parents have found out about it, tell her not to do anything. She winds up announcing she's running for student body president, asks Betty to be her vice president. Betty is on board with it. So they're going to run together is what they're doing. But the issue is that Betty doesn't know like anything that Veronica knows because Veronica and Archie are keeping a lot of stuff a secret from everyone else. Archie is also fighting with his dad about his father's lack of trust with the lodges. His mom actually comes to town and is trying to help Fred get out of his contract with them because Fred no longer wants to work with them. Archie keeps saying that he like doesn't understand, like he should keep working with them, which is all, like Archie is very connected to the lodges now and somehow does not realize how bad that is probably going to be long term. He's even fighting with his own father and actually winds up pissing the ever-loving heck out of his own mother because he and his dad keep fighting. It's very like subdued, like he will be very not shady, but he'll be like, people just don't understand the lodges and da-da-da-da, and then that gets to her a lot. So she and Archie are actually like at, I think the phrase is at loggerheads. I think that's right. But they're actually fighting with each other about this whole Fred situation because she's trying to get Fred out of this contract because she's like, the lodges were never going to let him out of it. Like this contract is crazy. She winds up meeting with the lodges with Fred, and that still does not go well. On top of all of this, Betty confronts Chick about not having any Blossom blood, which means he's not her dad's kid, which we'd kind of already, some people had already suspected because we've never actually heard Alice say that Hal was the father of that child. She winds up telling Betty that no, Hal is not the dad, does not say who the dad is. Later, Betty asks her if it could be FP because, Chick winds up revealing to Alice that Betty and Jughead are having sex, and Alice does not handle that well. A cabaret wig is involved. It's really not good for anybody. So that'd be very awkward. Like, one, having your folks find out you're having sex with someone is odd. Two, having them find out that you also wear a black wig specifically for those events is just an awkward, no one's gonna want to talk about this ever again. Like, no one needs to know these things. So when they wind up talking, Alice mentioned something about like, oh, the Joneses, da-da-da, and so Betty's like, is Chick FP's? And Alice is like, no. So we don't actually know who Chick's dad is. Chick is still being weird, and then Alice wants Chick and Betty to be getting along. Like, so much stuff is happening that's like everyone coming to a head, kind of. So Veronica decides to run for student body president. I'm going back to that. She winds up doing this kissing booth. That happens. There's discussions. Like, things keep coming up. Jughead winds up chaining himself to the south side with some serpents because he holds a meeting where he's like, they're gonna tear it down, they can't tear it down. He feels very connected to the South Side school because it like represents the larger like South Side, which is where he was raised. Like his family was there, it's all very connected. So he winds up having a group of serpents, and they're all going to be chained to the school as like a protest. Jughead will still be on his hunger strike, but that's their plan. They're doing that. This sort of interesting thing this time around is Tony will not be participating with the serpents because she and Cheryl are getting closer, and so Tony is sort of, she's not separating herself from the serpents. That's not what it is. But she's also finding this new person because she and Cheryl are getting a lot closer. There are romantic undertones to the two of them. I think their ship name is Shoni, Choni. But Cheryl is concerned that her mother and her uncle are actually trying to kill her and Nana Rose. And she just like is freaking out about it continuously. She thinks she's going to be poisoned at home. She thinks her Nana's being poisoned, all of this stuff. She winds up having Tony winds up auditioning to be one of the cheerleaders. She gets in, totally cool. There's a sleepover with Josie and Betty and Veronica and Cheryl and Tony. They all hang out. A braid train occurs. Then Cheryl reveals that she actually invited everyone over because she thought her family was trying to kill her. Then that night, she and Tony are in bed. Nothing happens. They almost kiss. There's suddenly a crash. But Cheryl reveals she didn't really want to invite everybody else over. She just wanted to invite Tony, but she knew her mother would never let her just invite Tony. So there's a crash. Nana Rose has fallen down the stairs. She goes to the hospital. She's actually alive. Cheryl is now completely freaked out because she's also been hearing people try and get into her room. She winds up being at the hospital a lot, monitoring her Nana. But the doctors want to release Nana Rose back to the house because her mother and the uncle have basically been telling them, like, oh, sundowners, like, she's doing all this stuff, da-da-da-da. And Cheryl's like, no, something's wrong, bah. And then when she tries to say something, her mom pulls her away. She confronts her mom. Her mom then says, like, we're going to get you the help you need. And I'm like, oh, boy, no help. Please don't get her any help. This is going to be bad. So Cheryl has that going on. I will get back to that. We will actually end with Cheryl's storyline for this video. So Jughead is doing his hunger strike. Archie is fully supporting the Lodges over his own family. Betty is dealing with her own family drama. Then Veronica manages to convince Josie to like support her because Andy Cohen is visiting and she can have, he endorsed Hermione and she's like, oh, you can meet Andy Cohen, da-da-da-da. So she's like, yeah, no, I'll totally endorse you. So she and Veronica wind up singing a duet together. She endorses her. During their performance, Ethel is handing out flyers with a picture of Veronica on them covered in like Veronica knew this stuff. So that leads the entire school to like flip on her. Betty is done with her. Like she's so angry that Veronica was keeping so many secrets. And then it turns out that Josie had told Ethel everything. Oh, and Kevin's hanging out with Chick all the time. Like they might be a couple. I don't know how I feel about that because Chick actually terrifies me. But yeah. So that happens. On top of like breaking up with Betty, that's what I'm calling it. Their friendship is currently over because Betty's not okay. I'm sure they will repair it at some point, but right now they're not really talking. Betty, my dog is barking. I'm pretty sure someone just came into the house. Nothing terrifying. No one's trying to murder me for money or something. But Betty confronts Chick and says, my mom wants us to make a truce, da-da-da. But then she's like, I won't tell anyone that you brained that guy. And he's like, well, you're the one whose fingerprints are all over everything, da-da-da. It gets nuts. He's like accusing her. He's like, you scared me, Betty. You scared me. Yes, my dog is still barking. I'm going to talk over the barking because this will not take that much longer. So they have all that going on. He's still going to bark. I can talk louder than him. I've been doing a lot of talking today, though. So they have that going on. Betty is now terrified to be at home. She and Cheryl actually, like, bonded over that. On top of, the reason that Jughead has actually changed the school is because Highr'd had Archie tell him about the demolition, which was a terrible plan. Then Highr'd winds up telling Archie, like, I'm gonna need you to take care of this. And he's like, the adults can't do anything. Why don't you all go? Jughead, for Highr'd, winds up cutting the chains that the serpents are using to, like, tie themselves to the school off of them, and they escort each serpent away. So Jughead and Archie, done. Like, Jughead's face is like devastated. Like he's angry, he's upset. This is after FP has said Highr'd tried to get him to get Jughead to stop doing this. He was going to give the Joneses a penthouse so they could all live in this fancy new place near the prison. So there's shady stuff going on Hiram's side for sure. Like, we already knew that, but he's also like, Jughead is concerning him, which is interesting because Jughead is a kid. So I'm like, Hiram must think he knows more, or Jughead knows more than we know he knows currently. Or maybe Hiram's just like, oh crap, like this could be bad, just in general. But I feel like Hiram thinks Jughead knows more or sees Jughead as a larger threat, which he should, because Jughead keeps finding things and being like, I know the thing. So that stops. So basically what's happened is Archie and Jughead aren't friends anymore. Betty and Veronica aren't friends anymore. Tony goes to check on Cheryl because like Cheryl's been so worried, and she was like, I went to go see her at the hospital with Nana Rose and she wasn't there. And Cheryl's mom says that Cheryl's been sent to an elite boarding school for all girls and she's gone. And Tony's like, what? That doesn't sound right. And then the next thing we see, Alice is at the exact same place that Polly was at. And they're going to screw with her head. It's terrifying. They use the word conversion. I'm so worried for Cheryl. Like, I was freaking out. Like, Cheryl, what is happening to Cheryl? Because as soon as her mom was like, we're going to get you the help you need, I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 oh, Cheryl. So in the preview for next week, we have seen that Tony is going to try and find Cheryl, and she's like trying to get people to help her. I don't know how that's going to go since everybody's fighting, but maybe they'll come together to save Cheryl. I think that might be possible. But it was a good episode. It was just a lot to take in because there's a lot of plots in motion all at the same time. But it was a lot. Like, there's a lot of stuff, a lot going on. But let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below or over on Twitter. I'm at Clef Notes. You can find me on my blog, clefnotes.wordpress.com, or write for the Nerdy Girl Express, thenerdygirlexpress.com, and over on their Snapchat, the Nerdy Girl EXP. Bye, Internet people.